The air in Valor Station smelled like rust and desperation. Hana walked through the crowded marketplace, her boots echoing on metal floors that hadn't been cleaned in years. Dim lights flickered overhead, casting shadows across hundreds of beings from dozens of different worlds. Some sold weapons. Others sold information. A few sold things that made Hana's stomach turn. She wasn't supposed to be here. Captain Do-hyun had sent her to pick up engine parts from a legitimate dealer 3 levels up. But Hana had taken a wrong turn, and now she found herself in the depths of Valor's black market. She should have turned around immediately. She should have climbed back up to the respectable levels where humans did business. Instead, she heard the crying. It was soft, barely audible over the noise of the market. But something about it made Hana stop walking. She turned her head, trying to find the source. The crowd parted for a moment, and she saw the platform. 20 beings stood on the raised stage, chained together by glowing energy bands around their wrists and ankles. Most kept their eyes down. A few shook with fear. One, near the end of the line, was crying silently. She looked young, maybe 19 or 20 in human years. Her skin had pale blue patterns that glowed faintly in the dim light. She was small, barely reaching Hana's shoulder, with large dark eyes that seemed too big for her delicate face. An auctioneer stood at the front of the platform. He was a Torvin, a species that looked like walking lizards with too many arms. His voice boomed across the market, speaking in Galactic common that everyone could understand. "Next item," the Torvin said, pulling the crying girl forward. She stumbled, and the chains sparked. Young Relathi female. 19 cycles old. Excellent health. Flesh is tender. Perfect for fine dining or breeding stock. Hana felt her blood run cold. She had heard rumors about species that ate other intelligent beings. She had never believed it. Not really. The galaxy couldn't be that cruel. But the crowd pressed closer to the platform. Several insectoid vraks clicked their mandibles with interest. One raised a clawed appendage. "I bid 8,000 credits, the vrak said in a chittering voice. 8,000. The auctioneer repeated. "Do I hear 9? Another Vrax called out. The girl on the platform sobbed harder. She tried to speak, but the words came out broken and desperate in a language Hana didn't recognize. Then she switched to Galactic Common, her accent thick but understandable. "Please," she whispered. "Please. I don't want to die. Please." The auctioneer struck her across the face. "Silence. Merchandise. Buyers don't want to hear livestock talk." The first Vrax clicked its mandibles again. 12,000 credits. "Final offer. 12,000, the auctioneer said, smiling with too many teeth. "Going once. Going twice. 20,000 credits." The words came out of Hana's mouth before her brain caught up. Every being in the immediate area turned to stare at her. The auctioneer's eyes narrowed. "You bid 20,000? he asked. Hana's heart pounded. 20,000 credits was almost everything she had saved over 3 years of working on the Steadfast Dawn. It was her emergency fund, her safety net, her ticket to eventually buying her own ship. But the girl on the platform was looking at her now. Those large, dark eyes were full of fear and confusion, and something that might have been hope. "Yes," Hana said, stepping forward. 20,000 credits, right now." The Vrax who had been bidding let out an angry hiss. "The human interferes. This is unacceptable." "The human has credits," the auctioneer said simply. "Credits are always acceptable." "Does anyone bid higher than 20,000? Silence fell over the market. 20,000 was far more than a single Relathi was worth, even a young, healthy one. The Vrax clicked its mandibles one final time, then turned and skittered away into the crowd. "Sold," the auctioneer announced. "To the human female. Pay at the collection window." 10 minutes later, Hana stood outside the market with the Relathi girl beside her. The energy chains had been removed. replaced with a simple metal bracelet that marked her as purchased property. The girl hadn't spoken since leaving the platform. She kept her eyes down, and her shoulders hunched, like she was trying to make herself as small as possible. "What's your name?" Hana asked gently. The girl flinched. She looked up at Hana with wide, terrified eyes. "This one is called Jimin," she said quietly. "Is the human going to eat Jimin now? Or later?" Hana felt sick. "I'm not going to eat you. I'm not going to hurt you." Jimin stared at her like she had spoken in an alien language. "Then why did the human buy Jimin?" "Because..." Hana struggled to find the right words. "Because what they were going to do to you was wrong. Because you asked for help. Because I couldn't just walk away." Jimin doesn't understand. "You will," Hana promised. "Come on. My ship is docked on level 7. You'll be safe there." The walk to the docking bay took 20 minutes. Jimin followed 3 steps behind Hana the entire way, never getting closer, never falling farther back. She moved like a ghost, barely making any sound. When other beings passed them in the corridor, she pressed herself against the wall and trembled. The steadfast dawn was a beautiful sight after the horror of the market. The cargo ship wasn't fancy, but it was clean and well-maintained. Hana's home for the last 3 years. Captain Do-hyun met them at the airlock. He was a tall man in his 50s, with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Those eyes moved from Hana to Jimin, then back to Hana. "Want to explain?" he asked. "I bought her," Hana said. "From the slave market, on level 14. Do-hyun's jaw tightened. "How much?" 20,000. 20,000 credits. Do-hyun closed his eyes and took a deep breath. "That's almost your entire savings." "I know. And you bought a Rilathi. Do you know what they are?" "Food," Jimin said quietly from behind Hana. "Rilathi are food. Everyone knows this." Do-hyun looked at the small alien girl, and something in his expression softened. He sighed. "Get her to medical. Have Heejin check her over. Then get back to work. We leave Valor in 6 hours." Do-hyun looked. "Thank you, Captain," Hana said. "Don't thank me yet," Do-hyun replied. "You just made yourself very poor and possibly started an interstellar incident. But," he looked at Jimin again, "but maybe you did the right thing. Time will tell." As Hana led Jimin deeper into the ship, the girl finally spoke again. "Why did the human do this?" she asked. Jimin doesn't understand why. Hana turned and smiled at her. "Because you're a person, Jimin. Not food. Not property. A person. And people deserve to be free." Jimin's glowing patterns flickered with emotion she couldn't name. She had never heard anyone say such things before. She didn't believe them. Not yet. But somewhere deep inside, a small spark of hope began to burn. Jimin sat in the corner of the small cabin and watched the door. She had been watching it for 3 days now, waiting for someone to come and take her to the kitchen. That's what happened to Rilathi. Everyone knew this. The humans were just waiting for the right time. The cabin confused her. It had a bed with clean sheets, a small bathroom with running water, a shelf with books. The humans had given her this space and told her it was hers. But nothing was ever hers. Things belonged to owners, and Jimin was property. Someone knocked on the door. Jimin pressed herself harder against the wall. "Jimin?" It was Hana's voice. "I brought you food. Can I come in?" Jimin didn't answer. The door opened anyway. Hana stepped inside, carrying a tray. The smell of cooked food filled the small room. "You haven't eaten anything in 3 days," Hana said, setting the tray on the floor between them. She sat down cross-legged, keeping distance between herself and Jimin. Jimin stared at the food. It looked good. It smelled good. But food offered by owners was always dangerous. Sometimes they put medicine in it to make you sleep before they killed you. Sometimes they fattened you up to improve the taste. "It's not poisoned," Hana said quietly. "I promise. Look." She picked up a piece of bread from the tray and took a bite. She chewed and swallowed. See? Safe. Why does the human keep bringing food? Jimin asked. Her voice was rough from not using it. Because you need to eat to stay alive. But the human will kill Jimin soon anyway. Hana's face showed pain. Jimin had learned some human expressions over the past 3 days. This one meant sadness. I told you before. I'm not going to kill you. Nobody on this ship is going to hurt you. All owners say this at first, Jimin replied. She had heard these promises before. From the Vraks who bred her family. From the traders who sold them. Promises meant nothing. Hana stood up slowly. I'm going to leave the food here. Please eat. Even if you don't trust me. Please eat. She walked to the door. Then stopped. My friend Heijin wants to check your health. She's a doctor. Will you let her? Jimin didn't answer. Hana left. 2 hours later, a different human woman came to the cabin. She was older than Hana, maybe 40 cycles, with kind eyes and steady hands. She knocked and entered without waiting for permission. Hello, Jimin, the woman said. I'm Heijin. I'm the medical officer on this ship. I need to examine you. She spoke slowly and clearly, like she was talking to a child. Jimin didn't resist when Heijin approached. There was no point in resisting. She stood still, while the doctor ran strange devices over her body. Heijin's face grew more serious as she worked. You're malnourished, Heijin said. Your body shows signs of old injuries that healed wrong. Some of your bones were broken and never set properly. How long were you in captivity? Repeated Formanin. Always, Jimin answered. Jimin was born in the breeding facility. All Relathi are born there. Heijin's hands stopped moving. You were born a slave? Relathi are always slaves. Or food. There are no free Relathi. The doctor was quiet for a long moment. Then she packed up her equipment. I'm going to give you supplements to help your body heal. And I want you to eat 3 meals a day. Can you do that? I'm going to. Jimin nodded. Not because she believed she would be alive long enough to need healing, but because owners liked obedience. On the 4th day, a young human male came to her door. He looked barely 20 cycles old, with bright eyes and a big smile. He didn't knock, just pushed the door open and walked right in. Hi, I'm Jiho, he said cheerfully. I'm the new guy on the crew. Well, newer than you now. Want to see the engine room? It's really cool. Jimin stared at him. This human was very strange. He talked fast and moved fast, like he had too much energy inside his body. Jimin is not allowed to leave this room, she said. Says who? Owners don't let property walk around freely. Jiho's smile faded a little. You're not property here. Captain said so. You're crew now. Maybe not official yet, but you're one of us. Come on. He held out his hand. Jimin looked at the hand like it might bite her. No one had ever offered to help her up before. Slowly, carefully, she reached out and took it. Jiho's hand was warm and rough with calluses. He led her through the ship's corridors. The steadfast dawn was bigger than she had realized. They passed crew quarters, a common room, storage bays. Finally, they reached the engine room. This is where I work, Jiho said proudly. With Minho. He's the chief engineer. A man looked up from where he was working on a large machine. He was older than Jiho. Maybe 30. With oil stains on his clothes and suspicion in his eyes. Who said you could bring her here? Minho asked. Nobody said I couldn't, Jiho replied. She's been locked in that cabin for 4 days. That's not right. Minho studied Jimin carefully. She tried to make herself small again, tried to be invisible. That's what good livestock did around owners who seemed angry. What's your species called? Minho asked. Relathi, Jimin whispered. And what do your people do? Before the slavery? Jimin blinked. Nobody had ever asked her that question. Jimin doesn't know. There are no stories about before. Something in Minho's expression changed. The suspicion faded, replaced by something else. Something that looked like anger, but not at her. At someone else, far away. That's wrong, he said quietly. Every species has stories. Every people has a history. He wiped his hands on a rag and walked over to her. You're safe here. I want you to know that. Whatever you've been through, it's over now. Jimin wanted to believe him. She wanted it so badly it hurt. But belief was dangerous. Hope was dangerous. They made you forget to be careful. That evening, all the crew ate dinner together in the common room. Jimin sat at the end of the table, still unsure if she was allowed to touch the food. Hana sat beside her and quietly filled her plate. This is everyone, Hana said, pointing around the table. You met Captain Do-hyun, Haejin, Minho, and Jiho. That's Sumin, our weapons officer. And that's Bora and Taehyung. They handle communications and navigation. Each person nodded at Jimin when Hana said their name. Eat, Captain Do-hyun said. It wasn't an order. It was an invitation. Jimin picked up a fork with shaking hands and took a small bite of food. It tasted good. Nobody stopped her from taking another bite. Or another. Halfway through the meal, she started crying. She didn't mean to. The tears just came, running down her face and dripping onto her plate. She waited for someone to punish her for ruining dinner. Instead, Hana put an arm around her shoulders. It's okay, she said softly. You're okay now. Jimin doesn't understand, she sobbed. Why is everyone being kind? What does the crew want from Jimin? We don't want anything, Hana said. We just want you to be safe and healthy and happy. But why? Hana smiled. Because that's what people do for each other. That's what family does. Ah, family? The word felt strange in Jimin's mouth. She had been born from breeding stock. She had no family. Yes, Hana said firmly. Jimin looked around the table. All the humans were watching her with gentle expressions. Even Minho, who had been suspicious at first, looked concerned. Jimin has never had family, she whispered. You do now, Captain Do-hyun said. That night, Jimin finally ate a full meal. And for the first time in her life, she went to sleep without being chained to a wall. The alarm woke everyone at once. Red lights flashed through the corridors of the steadfast dawn, and a loud warning siren echoed off the metal walls. Jimin sat up in her bed, her heart pounding with familiar fear. Alarms meant danger. Danger meant death. She ran to the door of her cabin and found Hana already there, pulling on her jacket. Stay here, Hana said quickly. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me or the captain. What's happening? I don't know yet. Just stay safe. Hana ran toward the bridge. Jimin closed her door but didn't lock it. If something was going to kill her, a locked door wouldn't help. Instead, she pressed her ear against the metal and listened. Voices echoed down the corridor. Captain Do-hyun was shouting orders. People were running. Then, she heard a word that made her blood freeze. Vraks. She knew what this meant. The Vraks who had tried to buy her at the auction had found them. He wanted his property back. Jimin opened her door and ran toward the bridge. She knew she shouldn't. She knew she should hide. But if the Vraks were here because of her, the crew needed to know what kind of danger they faced. The bridge was chaos. Captain Do-hyun stood at the center, staring at a large screen that showed 3 Vraks warships surrounding them. Minho worked frantically at the engine controls. Sumin, the weapons officer, had both hands on her console, ready to fire. 2 frigates and a destroyer, Sumin reported. We're outgunned. Incoming transmission, Taehyung said, from the communication station. Put it through, Do-hyun ordered. The screen flickered. A Vrak's face appeared, all mandibles and cold compound eyes. When it spoke, its voice clicked and chittered through the translator. Human vessel steadfast dawn, the Vrax said. I am Commander Thexlor of the Vrax Collective. You are carrying stolen property that belongs to me. Return the Relathi female immediately, and I will allow you to leave unharmed. Jimin stepped onto the bridge. Everyone turned to look at her. Don't, she said quietly. Don't fight for me. Give me back to them. This is not worth dying for. Hana moved to stand beside her. That's not happening. The human doesn't understand. Jimin said desperately. The Vrax don't care about laws or fairness. They will kill everyone on this ship to get what they want. Then they'll have to kill us, Captain Do-hyun said calmly. He turned back to the screen. Commander Thexlor, the person you're looking for is not property. She's a member of my crew. We don't trade crew members. The Vrax's mandibles clicked with anger. You paid 20,000 credits for livestock. I will give you 25,000 to return it. This is generous. She's not for sale. Then I will take her by force. The screen went black. Shields up, Do-hyun ordered. Sumin, prepare weapons. Minho, give me everything the engines have. Captain, Jimin said, her voice shaking. Please, let them have me. This crew doesn't have to die. Do-hyun looked at her for a long moment. Then he turned to his crew. Everyone who wants to hand Jimin over to the Vrax, raise your hand. Silence. Nobody moved. Everyone who wants to fight to protect our crew member, raise your hand. Every hand went up. Even Minho, who had been suspicious of Jimin at first. Even Bora, who hadn't spoken to her much. Jimin felt tears burn her eyes. Why? Why would you all die for someone like me? Because you're one of us now, Hana said simply. And we protect our own. The first Vrax ship opened fire. The steadfast dawn shook as energy weapons hit the shields. Alarms screamed. Sparks flew from a damaged console. Return fire. Do-hyun ordered. Sumin's fingers flew across her controls. The ship's weapons, meant for scaring off pirates not fighting warships, fired back. The shots hit one of the Vrax frigates but barely damaged it. We can't win a straight fight, Minho said. Their ships are too strong. Then we don't fight straight, Do-hyun replied. He grabbed the ship's controls himself. Hold on, everyone. The steadfast dawn suddenly dove downward, away from the Vrax formation. The enemy ships followed, firing continuously. Do-hyun flew like a madman, spinning and weaving through space in patterns that no merchant captain should know how to do. You were military, Sumin said with something like respect in her voice. Long time ago, Do-hyun replied, not taking his eyes off the controls. Sumin, target their communications array. If we can blind them, they can't coordinate. On it. The ship shook again. This time, something exploded in the engine room. Minho cursed and ran to fix it, with Jiho right behind him. Jimin stood frozen on the bridge, watching people risk their lives for her. It didn't make sense. Nothing in her entire life had prepared her for this. In her world, the strong ate the weak. The powerful used the powerless. Nobody sacrificed for livestock, but these humans were different. Jimin, Taehyung called from his station. Can you understand Vrax language? Yes, she said. All Relathi must learn it. Listen to their communications. Tell me what they're planning. Taehyung patched the Vrax radio chatter through the bridge speakers. Jimin listened carefully, translating the clicks and chittering sounds. The commander is angry, she said. He says humans fight like animals, without honor or sense. He's ordering the destroyer to ram us, while the frigates keep shooting. Ram us? Do-hyun's eyes went wide. Sumin, target that destroyer's engines. Now. Weapons are overheating, Captain. If I fire again, they might explode. Fire anyway. Sumin fired. The steadfast dawn's weapons hit the destroyer's engine pod perfectly. The massive Vrax ship shuddered and began to drift, its engines disabled, but not destroyed. 2 ships left, Sumin reported. But our weapons are gone. The Vrax frigates moved in from both sides, ready to capture the human ship. Jimin could see their docking clamps extending, ready to lock on and board. Minho status? Do-hyun called. Engines are at 50%. I can give you one jump to hyperspace, but we need 30 seconds to charge. We don't have 30 seconds. Jimin looked at the screen, watching the Vrax ships close in. Then she looked at the disabled destroyer, floating helplessly between them and the enemy. An idea formed in her mind. A crazy, desperate idea. Captain, she said, push the destroyer. What? Use our ship to push the destroyer. Put it between us and the frigates. They won't shoot through their own ship. Everyone stared at her. Then Do-hyun smiled, fierce and wild. Minho, I need engines for one crazy maneuver before we jump. Can you give me that? Yes, Captain. Do-hyun spun the ship around and headed straight for the disabled destroyer. The Vrax frigates realized what he was doing and opened fire. But it was too late. The steadfast Dawn slammed into the much larger destroyer and pushed, using it as a shield. The destroyer drifted backward, blocking the frigate's weapons. The Vrax had to stop firing or risk destroying their own ship. Jump charged. Minho's voice came through the speakers. Hold on, Do-hyun said. The steadfast Dawn's hyperspace engines engaged. Space twisted around them, and in an instant, they were gone. The Vrax ships were left behind. Their prey escaped. In the sudden silence after the jump, everyone on the bridge took a deep breath. Then, Jiho's voice came through the speakers from the engine room. We're alive! We made it! Cheering erupted. Hana grabbed Jimin and hugged her tight. Even Sumin was smiling. Captain Do-hyun stood from his chair and walked over to Jimin. That was good thinking, he said. You might have saved us all. This is the first time Jimin ever saved anyone, she whispered. Usually, people save themselves and leave Rilathi behind. You're not just a Rilathi, Hana said. Your crew, your family, and family saves each other. Jimin looked around at all the humans who had risked everything for her, who had fought an impossible battle because she mattered to them. The tears came again, but this time, they weren't from fear. Thank you, she said. No need to thank us, Do-hyun replied. That's what family does. The steadfast Dawn limped into orbit around New Haven, 3 days after escaping the Vrax. The ship's engines were damaged, the weapons were destroyed, and half the systems needed repairs. But they were alive. And that was what mattered. New Haven was a young colony, only 15 years old. It sat on the edge of human space, far from the Galactic Council's control. From orbit, it looked green and peaceful. Jimin pressed her face against the window of the common room and stared down at it. Have you ever been on a planet? Hana asked, standing beside her. No. Jimin was born on a space station, lived in cages and ships, never touched real ground. You will now. New Haven has forests and oceans and mountains. It's beautiful. The ship landed at a small spaceport near the colony's main city. When the landing ramp opened, Jimin took her first breath of planetary air. It smelled like growing things and rain. The gravity felt different than the ship's artificial pull. She stumbled, and Hana caught her arm. Easy. Planet gravity takes getting used to. Governor Taeyong met them at the spaceport. He was a young man for such an important position, maybe 35, with sharp eyes and a warm smile. Behind him stood several other people, including a small group that made Jimin's heart stop. They were Rilathi. Free Rilathi, standing in the open air, wearing clean clothes and looking healthy. Jimin had never seen free members of her species before. One of them stepped forward. She was old, maybe 60 cycles, with faded blue patterns on her wrinkled skin, but her eyes were bright and kind. Welcome, young one, the elder said in the Rilathi language, the language Jimin had almost forgotten. I am Bora. We heard about what happened to you. We heard about the humans who saved you. Jimin couldn't speak. She just stared. Come, Bora said gently. Let us talk. Let me tell you about our people. Our real history. Not the lies the Vraks taught you. That night, Jimin sat with the Rilathi refugees in their small community center. There were 12 of them, all saved by different humans over the past 5 years. Bora sat at the head of the group and told stories. Our people are old, Bora said. Older than the Vraks. We had cities, and art, and music. We had families, and traditions. The Vraks came to our world 300 years ago. They were hungry, and we were weak. They conquered us in a single generation. They destroyed our records, burned our books, killed anyone who remembered the old ways. But some remembered, another Rilathi added. Some kept the stories alive, even in the breeding facilities, Bora nodded. I learned the stories from my grandmother, who learned them from hers. And now I will teach them to you. Tenmer 9. She taught Jimin songs in the old language. She taught her the names of Rilathi heroes and poets and leaders. She taught her that being Rilathi meant more than being prey. It meant being part of a proud, ancient people who had loved and laughed and dreamed. Jimin absorbed it all like a person dying of thirst. Every word, every story, every song filled a hollow place inside her that she hadn't known existed. Meanwhile, trouble was growing. Governor Tae-young called Captain Do-hyun to his office 3 days after they landed. The Vraks have filed a formal complaint with the Galactic Council, Tae-young explained, showing them documents on his screen. They claim you stole valuable property and destroyed one of their ships. We disabled it, not destroyed it. Do-hyun corrected. And Jimin is a person, not property. I agree with you. But the Galactic Council doesn't. Most species on the Council don't recognize Rilathi as sentient. They're officially classified as livestock. Hana stood up angrily. That's insane. Jimin speaks multiple languages. She saved our ship with her strategy. She's clearly intelligent. Again, I agree. But changing galactic law is not easy. Tae-young leaned back in his chair. However, Earth's ambassador is fighting for change. She's proposing something called the Sentient Being Protection Act. If it passes, all species that can communicate and reason will be protected from slavery and consumption. What are the chances? Do-hyun asked. Not good. Most council species benefit from the current system. They have slaves of their own. They won't vote to free them. Tae-young paused. Unless we can change their minds. How? The council is holding a tribunal in 2 weeks. They want to decide the Jimin case publicly. If we can prove that Rilathi deserve protection, it might sway the vote on the Protection Act. You want Jimin to testify? Hana looked shocked. She's barely recovering from trauma. You're asking her to face the same species that wanted to eat her? I know it's asking a lot. But if we don't do this, the Vraks will keep hunting Rilathi. They'll keep breeding them and eating them forever. This might be our only chance to change things. That evening, Hana found Jimin in the community center, learning a traditional Rilathi dance from the other refugees. She watched for a moment before interrupting. Jimin, can we talk? They walked outside into the colony's small park. The sun was setting, painting the sky in colors Jimin had never seen before. The governor wants you to speak at a Galactic Council meeting, Hana said quietly. You'd have to tell them about your life, about what the Vraks did to you and your people. Jimin was silent for a long time. Will it help? She finally asked. Maybe. We don't know. But it's our best chance to protect other Rilathi. Jimin is very afraid. I know. But I'll be there with you. The whole crew will be there. And you're stronger than you think. Jimin looked up at the darkening sky. Bora told me stories today about Rilathi heroes who fought the Vraks 300 years ago. They all died, but they fought anyway. They fought because someone had to. You don't have to be a hero, Hana said gently. You've been through enough. No. Jimin's voice was quiet but firm. Hana saved Jimin. The crew protected Jimin. Bora taught Jimin about her people. Now Jimin must do something too. Jimin must speak. Over the next 2 weeks, a human woman named Kyungmin helped prepare Jimin for the tribunal. Kyungmin was a lawyer and activist who had spent 10 years fighting for alien rights. The council will try to make you afraid, Kyungmin explained. They'll use harsh words. They'll treat you like you're not intelligent. You have to stay calm and speak clearly. They practiced every day. Kyungmin asked her hard questions, preparing her for what the Vraks might say. Bora taught her more about Rilathi history, giving her knowledge to share with the council. Hana stayed by her side through it all. On the night before they were scheduled to leave for the council station, Jimin couldn't sleep. She found Hana sitting in the ship's common room, staring out the window at New Haven's stars. "Are you scared?" Hana asked when Jimin sat beside her. "Yes. Very scared." "Me too." Jimin looked at her in surprise. "Hana is never afraid." "That's not true. I was terrified when I bought you at the auction. I was terrified during the fight with the Vraks. And I'm terrified now that something will go wrong at the tribunal." "Then why does Hana keep doing scary things?" Hana smiled. "Because being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means being scared and doing the right thing anyway." "You taught me that." Jimin taught Hana? "Yes. When you suggested using the destroyer as a shield, you were scared. I could see it in your eyes. But you spoke up anyway, because it was the right thing to do. That's real courage." Jimin looked down at her hands. The blue patterns on her skin glowed softly in the darkness. Jimin never thought of herself as brave. Rilathi are prey. Prey runs and hides. You're not prey anymore. You're Jimin, your crew, your family, and you're going to change the galaxy. Jimin wanted to believe that. She wanted to believe that one small Rilathi could make a difference. It seemed impossible. But then again, a few months ago, being free had seemed impossible too. "Will you stay with me?" Jimin asked quietly. "When I speak to the council?" "Always," Hana promised. "I'll be right there beside you." The next morning, the steadfast dawn left New Haven's orbit. They were headed for Axis Prime, the neutral station where the Galactic Council held its meetings, where Jimin would tell her story to the galaxy, where everything would change. The Galactic Council chamber was the largest room Jimin had ever seen. It was built like a massive amphitheater, with seats rising up in circles around a central platform. Hundreds of beings from dozens of species filled those seats, all watching the platform where Jimin would have to stand. She waited in a small preparation room with Hana and Captain Do-hyun. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. "Remember what Kyungmin taught you," Hana said, holding one of Jimin's trembling hands. "Speak clearly. Don't let them make you angry. Tell your truth." Ambassador Sojun entered the room. He was Earth's chief representative to the council, a tall man with gray hair and eyes that had seen many battles, both physical and political. "Are you ready?" he asked Jimin. "No," she answered honestly. "But Jimin will do it anyway." Sojun smiled. "That's the spirit. Just remember, you're not alone in there. I'll be speaking too. And half the humans in the galaxy are watching this transmission. You've already inspired more people than you know." A chime sounded. It was time. They walked through a long corridor and emerged onto the central platform. Jimin's legs almost gave out when she saw how many beings were staring at her. Thousands of eyes. Thousands of species. Many of them looked at her with disgust or hunger. In the front row, she saw the Vraks delegation. Commander Thexlor sat among them, his mandibles clicking with anger. The council speaker called the session to order. He was an ancient reptilian being named Vorn, who had held the position for 40 years. "We gather to address the complaint filed by the Vraks Collective," Speaker Vorn announced. His voice echoed through the massive chamber. "They claim that Captain Do-hyun of the human vessel Steadfast Dawn stole property and damaged Vraks military vessels. How do the humans respond?" Ambassador Seo-jun stepped forward. "We deny the charges. Jimin, the being in question, is not property. She is a sentient individual with rights. We are here to request that the Council pass the Sentient Being Protection Act and recognize all communicating species as persons under galactic law. Murmurs filled the chamber. Several delegates clicked or hissed or made sounds of disapproval. The Vrax representative stood. He was even larger than Commander Thexlor, with scars across his carapace from old battles. The human speaks nonsense. Rilathi are livestock. They have been livestock for 300 years. This is established fact. The Council has never questioned it before. Then perhaps it's time we did, Sojun replied calmly. Speaker Vorn raised a clawed hand for silence. The Council will hear testimony. Jimin of the Rilathi, step forward. Jimin walked to the center of the platform. Her heart pounded so hard, she thought everyone could hear it. She looked up at the thousands of faces and felt very small. The questioning began. Different council members asked her basic things at first. Her age, her origin, her education. She answered each question in a clear voice, using perfect galactic common. Then the Vrax representative approached. He circled her slowly, looking at her like she was meat in a market. Tell the Council, he said. What is the purpose of your species? To live, Jimin answered. To learn and grow and love. Same as any species. Wrong. Your species exists to feed superior species. That is your purpose. You were bred for consumption. That is what the Vrax made us, not what we are. The Vrax clicked his mandibles angrily. You speak words you were taught by humans. You have no original thoughts. You are repeating training. Like a pet. Repeats tricks. Something hot flared in Jimin's chest. Anger. Real anger. Not fear, disguised as anger. She stood straighter. Jimin knows 5 languages, she said. Jimin survived torture and starvation. Jimin helped save a ship from 3 Vrax warships. Are these tricks? Or is this thinking? You followed orders given by humans. No. Jimin made the plan. The humans trusted Jimin enough to listen. She looked directly at the Vrax representative. Can you say the same? Do you trust those you see as livestock? Do you listen to their ideas? The chamber erupted in noise. Some delegates laughed. Others hissed in anger. Speaker Vorn called for order. The Vrax representative's mandibles clicked rapidly with rage. You forget yourself, livestock. You forget what you are. Jimin knows exactly what she is. Jimin is Rilathi. Jimin is free. And Jimin will never forget again. Ah. Jimin will never forget again. Jimin is Rilathi will never forget. Ah, Jimin is Rilathi. Hana stood suddenly from where she sat with the human delegation. Speaker Vorn. I request permission to address the Council. This is irregular, Vorn said. Please. I was there. I saved Jimin. I need to speak. Vorn considered, then nodded. Speak, human. Hana walked to stand beside Jimin. She looked up at the thousands of delegates with no fear in her eyes. 3 months ago, I was a nobody, Hana said. Just a cargo pilot, trying to make a living. Then I saw Jimin on an auction platform, crying and begging for her life. And I had a choice. I could walk away, like I'm sure thousands of beings have walked away. Or I could do something. She took Jimin's hand. I chose to do something. And that choice changed my life. Jimin isn't just free now. She's my sister. She's my family. She risked her life to save my crew. She's learning about her people's history. She's teaching other freed Rilathi to hope again. Hana's voice grew stronger. How many of you can say you've changed a life? How many of you have given someone a future? Because that's what humans do. We see suffering, and we stop it. We see injustice, and we fight it. We see a person in need, and we help them. Noble words. The Vrax representative said with contempt. But words don't change reality. Rilathi are food. They always have been. They always will be. No, Jimin said quietly, then louder. No. Jimin will not be food. Jimin's children will not be food. This ends now. She turned to address the entire council, speaking to them all. Everyone here can understand Jimin's words, she said. Everyone here knows Jimin is thinking and feeling. You know Jimin is alive and aware. Just like you. So how can you allow this to continue? How can you eat people who speak to you? Who beg you for mercy? Who have families, and dreams, and hope? Her voice broke. But she didn't stop. Jimin was born in a cage. Jimin's mother was killed and eaten when Jimin was 8 cycles old. Jimin watched. Jimin screamed for them to stop. But nobody listened, because Rilathi don't matter. Rilathi are just food. Tears ran down her face now, but she kept speaking. Jimin wants to matter. Jimin wants all Rilathi to matter. Please, please see us. Please help us. Please give us the same rights you give yourselves. Silence filled the chamber. Total silence. Thousands of beings stared at the small Rilathi woman, crying on the platform. Then Ambassador Seojin stepped forward. The humans of Earth request a vote on the Sentient Being Protection Act. Right now. Today. Load. Right now. Speaker Vorn looked troubled. This is highly irregular. The council needs time to discuss. The council has had 300 years to discuss, Seojun interrupted. 300 years, while an entire species suffered. I say we've waited long enough. Let each delegate vote according to their conscience. Let them decide if they can look this person in the eye and tell her she doesn't matter. Murmurs spread through the chamber again. Several delegates were arguing with each other. The Vrax delegation stood and began walking toward the exits. If this vote happens, Commander Thexlor announced, the Vrax collective will leave the council. Then leave, Sojun said simply. We'll build a better galaxy without you. The Vrax left. Several other species followed them, but many more stayed. Speaker Vorn sighed deeply. Very well. All delegates, in favor of the Sentient Being Protection Act, raise your voting devices. End quote. Jimin held her breath. Lights began appearing throughout the chamber. Small glowing indicators showing each delegate's vote. Green for yes, red for no. The voting took 5 minutes. 5 minutes that felt like hours. Jimin watched the count on the central display, her heart in her throat. Finally, Speaker Vorn spoke. The vote is recorded. 1,247 inches favor. 1,198. Opposed. The motion passes. 4. 1. 1. Vorn. The chamber exploded with noise. Some species cheered. Others roared in anger. The human delegation jumped to their feet and shouted with joy. Jimin's legs gave out. She fell to her knees on the platform. Hana knelt beside her immediately, pulling her into a tight hug. You did it, Hana whispered. You changed the galaxy. We did it, Jimin corrected. Humans did it. Jimin just spoke the truth. Ambassador Seojun helped them both stand. This is just the beginning, he said. Now we have to enforce the law. We have to free all the Rilathi still in captivity. It's going to be a long fight. R. Jimin will fight, she said. Jimin will help free her people. The next few hours were chaos. Human journalists wanted interviews. Other delegates wanted to speak with Jimin. Freed Rilathi, from across the galaxy, sent messages of hope and gratitude. The girl who had been born in a cage had become a symbol of change. But eventually, Jimin found herself back on the steadfast dawn with her crew. They sat in the common room, exhausted but happy. So what now? Jiho asked. Do we go back to hauling cargo? Captain Dohyun smiled. I think our cargo hauling days might be over. I've been contacted by 5 different human colonies that want to hire us to help rescue enslaved beings. Apparently, We have a reputation now. A rescue crew? What about you, Jimin? Hana asked. What do you want to do? Jimin looked around at the crew. Her family. The people who had given her everything. Jimin wants to stay with you, she said. Jimin wants to help free others. Jimin wants to show them that freedom is possible. That hope is real. That there are humans in the galaxy who will fight for strangers. Then that's what we'll do, Do-hyun said. Together. That night, Jimin stood at the observation window, looking out at the stars. Hana joined her, just like she had so many times before. Do you remember what you said to me on New Haven? Jimin asked. About being brave? I remember. Jimin was so scared today. But Jimin spoke anyway. Does that make Jimin brave? Hana put her arm around Jimin's shoulders. That makes you the bravest person I know. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, the Vraks were angry. Other species were planning ways to fight the new law. But somewhere else, Rilathi were hearing about what happened today. They were learning that they mattered, that they had rights, that humans would fight for them. Jimin used to think the galaxy was nothing but darkness and hunger, Jimin said quietly. And now? Hana asked. Jimin smiled. It was her first real smile, full of genuine happiness. Now Jimin knows there are humans in it. And that makes all the difference. The steadfast Dawn's engines hummed to life. They jumped to hyperspace, carrying their crew toward new adventures, toward more rescues, toward a better galaxy. Jimin was no longer property. She was no longer food. She was Jimin, rescuer and symbol and hero. She was free, and she would make sure everyone else could be free too.